Hello, this is Alan Wheeler on my YouTube channel where recently I've been posting about tarot and spirituality. Today's title, I think, will be Morgan Greer, Tarot Mixes Religion and Politics. Before I get into that, I just want to say I was encouraged recently by some comments on YouTube from two different people. So I guess a thing is established by two or three witnesses um, in that old principle. Uh, but both encouraged me to keep making videos, that they're interested and learning something. So I replied to thank you to both and to at least one of them that as long as one person is interested, I'll probably keep making videos. If I had one friend, I'd continue to make telephone calls. So, but I really appreciated and almost felt the divine um, blessing in those comments. So I'll just pause and um, give thanks for that. So I've been introducing things from my altar. Um, Today, I usually put the stone. Last video, I showed stones that I carry in my pocket, as well as some that I've been keeping up here on my altar. If you don't get dizzy, I'll give a little quick tour there. Hopefully there's no seasickness. And I also keep this necklace on my altar nightly and put it on each day. It's the Valknut, which I believe I've shown before, but today, as I was grabbing my notebook, it fell to the floor, and I was just uh, arrested a bit by that, that perhaps I've been putting it on a little mindlessly and um, forgetting to work with Odin. I do keep his picture here, and think fondly of him as a friend of mine. Online has a little more, seems to have a little more knowledge of Norse mythology, and um, but I'm often reminded of that strength and battle associated with Odin, as well as his character as the wanderer, like Gandalf. Um, and in the stories, he wanders the earth in disguise as a wanderer. A book I keep here at my altar, one of many, is The Viking Spirit, and the website that has some of this information is Norse Mythology for Smart People, a fantastic website by Daniel McCoy, who he doesn't go into his religion, but I can empathize with him. He says probably um, he's the only one with his religion. um, and so I show those couple things. Today, the Valknut, of course, has the three triangles, 9 points. Uh, Odin hung 9 days on the world tree to discover the runes, sacrificing himself to himself. And so and it's also that knot uh, that he can loose and unloose as a god of battle, causing fear in the hearts of enemies, strength in the hearts of friends. And though I believe our battle is not against people in flesh and blood these days, we always have struggles and battles in life. I'm going to take off my glasses because I see a reflection there that may be distracting. Okay, so let's get into the introduction proper. I've been learning a lot from a so-called authentic Irish connection. And Laura O'Brien, I'll go ahead and upfront send blessings and good energy to her. Her wonderful work as a priest of, I think, just the Morgan, um, but she provides a lot of education about the Ogham, and she recently posted a video of walking in a graveyard, an old graveyard in Ireland. Wonderful things. She deserves to be supported and blessed in her work. However, the other day, and I didn't find the original kerfluffle, but apparently a poster had said to her not to get political in some posting or something somewhere, and I don't know the whole original story, but people can get very assertive, to put it mildly, and um, he must have been pretty uncivil because the reaction that I saw in the YouTube video had stirred up Laura O'Brien quite a bit, um, and so she gave a rebuttal that was quite strong. And she says politics cannot be separated from her spirituality. And um, I can't quote her, but some of her comments basically said that rich, white, uh, I don't think she said that, but rich, middle class American, ignorant bigots um, may be able to afford to ignore politics. Um, and it was quite strong. I posted, and she basically said that people who are offended um, can leave, and the trash can take itself out. uh, I posted there that I work with disadvantaged students, and I'm not by any means removed from real life issues. And I support any and all groups who are discriminated against because of religion or race, gender or faith or anything. However, I wrote that I was confused and didn't know who was being asked to leave. Um, Middle class Americans, who. And I wrote that I have an apolitical tendency myself, and that although I certainly support marginalized groups and minorities and all of that actively, I don't trust particular parties and organizations all that much, and do shy away from some politics. Uh, so with that, that stirred my thinking up, and some of the thoughts that I've been working through are, yes, it's true. Beliefs absolutely affect our behavior in the real world. Also, I don't think groups like Black Lives Matter, um, they do not need to be silenced by, other groups coming on top and saying, no, all lives matter, shut up. Um, I do think we need to support the marginalized. We can't keep politics out entirely. But on the other hand, separation of church and state, I think, is a worthy ideal. And uh, while we need political debate and discussion, we must have it. Um, Civil war and things degenerating into violence is not healthy. And I've made videos about the polarization and problems I see with that in the world today. Um, I think I've also posted videos, blog posts, and things about the coexist bumper sticker. And some respond to that, that it's less a worthy ideal and more like maybe spray painting graffiti on a stop sign, war, stop, war, or chanting, make love, not war, as we did in the 1960s. Um, Maybe it's something that is unrealistic, like the impossible dream of fighting windmills by Don Quixote, or as the Hollywood Star accused Kurt Vonnegut of, when he wrote Slaughterhouse-Five, the Hollywood Star accused Kurt Vonnegut of writing an anti-glacier novel. In other words, it's useless to protest war. Well, um, hmm, don't know. I think it's part of the conversation. When religious leaders in the famous Bible story tried to force Jesus to take a political stand publicly, and they approached Jesus and said, should we pay taxes to Rome? Well, um, they thought they might trap him, um, because if he said yes, he was um, anti-Israel. If he said no, he was anti-Rome. Um, but in great wisdom, according to the story, Jesus parsed the situation very thoughtfully, very carefully. He said, let me see a coin. Whose picture is on here? Caesar. Give to Caesar what is Caesar. What is Caesar's? Give to God what is God's. And so, to me, far from a flippant way out, clever way out of a puzzle, um, that can actually be applied for me in all kinds of issues, where people might have both a spiritual and political agenda, whether it be same-sex marriage or um, gun rights and things like that. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Um, in other words, we may need to, um, I should be careful about parsing that specifically, um, but nonetheless, I think it can help us apply things. But the question today is, do we agree to disagree? Do we use decorum, as some parents teach their children not to talk about politics? Or is the conversation more important than civility? Um, just how do we think about this? So I pulled one Ohem stick from my collection of the Irish Ohem, and as some may know, each of these sticks comes from the tree that it represents, so that the one I just pulled, uh, Beth, or Baith, my pronunciation is surely wrong, um, comes from the birch tree, um, and so on. So I pulled one Ohem stick symbol and 3 cards from the Morgan Greer Tarot to help me think about this issue. And the uh, Ohem stick that I drew from the bag was this one. And again, forgive my pronunciation, but I believe it's um, I've forgotten. Um, there's 2 different versions of this. One is, oh goodness, let me get my paper here. Um, Idha is one, and Idhad. Um, anyway, it's the letter E that it represents, and again, I apologize for my pronunciation. Um, and it's E, it represents the aspen tree. But it was significant to me. And I'll hold it up here so it's visible for the discussion. The aspen tree is very sensitive to the wind, and the branches move easily in the breeze, and so it can represent hearing the whispers of the ancestors, which I think is a very sophisticated and even subtle way of applying politics to spirituality. Hearing the ancestors, being sensitive to our local traditions or our identity in a way. The aspen can also be a shield, represent shield, courage, heroes. And so, again, I think there's some both spiritual and political application there but it does help me think in what way. It's spirituality is certainly more than simple politics. What kind of involvement is there? And I think that whisper, that sensitivity, that courage, that shield, which is like a herald, it can have a family or kingdom's coat of arms there. And so I think there's something thought-provoking as far as spirituality. Although personally I would not be inclined to follow tutelary gods in the ancient sense where the battle is against flesh and blood. There's some food for thought there. Now, I drew 3 cards from the Morgan Greer deck randomly, but I did it earlier so I could sit with these and think about it. But almost instantly, I could see the application. The first card was the High Priestess, and I'll go ahead and show the others, followed by the Hermit and Temperance. But the High Priestess and the Hermit as well reminds me that spirituality is highly personal. So it's the Hierophant that's the more organized form and the more exoteric. So I'm just reminded by her and the Hermit as well, I think, that change, growth, and truth spiritually are developed within. But I also think that prayer saturates the heart. It sets intentions, or meditation, as the case may be, or spell work, as the case may be. Whatever that spirituality is, it saturates the heart, sets intentions, makes connections with people that are not maybe organized as in the exoteric organized sense, but heart to heart, in the anima mundi, spiritual connection. I feel it sometimes. We can send blessing. We can pray for people, depending on our outlook. So, strong reminder for me. Now, the Hermit, he's certainly an isolated character, the number 9. Again, reminding me of Odin, hanging alone, sacrificing himself to himself. but he carries a light along with his staff, and so it reminds me that he shares his light. Um, so it's not just kept to oneself, which is good food for thought. Also, these two together, whether the soul journey or truth within, that esoteric wisdom of the high priestess, reminds me that fortune and fate, kind of these outward manifestations, favor the prepared heart. So it's the person who is ready, who's been prepared within, that can best work outwardly. So the light shining and reminds me that there is an outward expression. However, spirituality is highly internal and highly individual at the same time. I think we can't deny that. But how happy I was to draw the temperance card. And perhaps this is part of Laura O'Brien's strong reaction to this person who told her, don't bring in politics. And this is the challenge, that we must temper our otherworldliness with fruit in this world. People have been accused of being so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. But temperance, although there's a pathway here to this, I think traditionally that's a celestial city in the background, or a glowing crown. But she's got a foot in the water, reminding me of the high priestess, but she's got one foot firmly planted on the ground. So she has the appropriate mixture of the practical and the sublime there. So those are my thoughts, my initial thoughts, and further clarified by the pulling of the Ogham and the tarot cards. So I hope that's of interest and gives you some food for thought as well. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you do feel connection with people in your life, with online community, and on your spiritual path, whatever that might be. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.